Alcoholic liver disease. Alcoholic liver disease, as the name implies, is secondary to alcohol ingestion. But we have to qualify that alcohol ingestion should be chronic and excessive. There are three major lesions when it comes to alcoholic liver disease. You have your fatty liver, alcoholic hepatitis, and cirrhosis. Fatty liver is present in more than 90% of those who take in alcohol, small percent of which are heavy drinkers that may progress to alcoholic hepatitis. This is a precursor to cirrhosis. In alcoholic liver disease, the prognosis is dismal, especially when cirrhosis already has set in. 60% will die in 4 years' time, and 10 to 20% of alcoholics will develop alcoholic hepatitis. Now, when it comes to the intake of alcohol, there is a cutoff. If the patient is a male, he should have taken 60 to 80 grams per day, while women needs to be between 20 to 40 grams per day in around 10 years' time. So, the most important risk factor is the quantity and the duration of alcohol intake. You may notice that women are more predisposed when it comes to the amount of alcohol. This is secondary or maybe secondary to the genetic predisposition of women to alcohol damage. Development of liver disease is directly related to the amount of alcohol ingested. If you take in, if you're an alcoholic drinker, you take in 160 grams per day or more, you have an associated 25-fold increase in developing alcoholic cirrhosis. This is a rough estimation of the amount of alcohol. You have 12 grams of alcohol in a bottle of beer or 4 ounces of wine and 1 ounce of 80% spirit. In this table, you have the risk factor like the quantity, the gender, the genetics, presence of chronic hepatitis C, and fatty liver. When it comes to quantity, we already discussed that, and the gender. With the presence of hepatitis C in concurrence with alcohol liver disease, the development of cirrhosis sets in at a very young age. So therefore, Hep C or chronic hepatitis C is an important comorbid factor. Even if we say that more than 80 grams of alcohol per day will be needed in development of alcoholic liver disease or cirrhosis at that, even with moderate amount in patients with chronic hepatitis C infection, then the increase in the development of HCC is noted. And if the patient is drinking alcohol when he or she knows that he is or she is already infected with hepatitis C, then you have a poor prognosis. So we already showed this in the table previously. The etiology and pathogenesis. Alcohol is a direct hepatotoxin. Unlike viruses, uh, immune mediation is the rule. But when it comes to alcohol, this directly affect the liver cells. This promotes lipogenesis. There is an inhibition of fatty acid oxidation, stellate cell activation, and collagen production. So, when these factors come into play, there is a fibrogenesis that is happening inside the cells. There will be resulting fibrosis, which determines the architectural derangement of the liver. That means if you have fibrosis, hepatocytes will not be able to work normally. There will be derangement in its function. You will observe there is elevation of enzymes. There can be prolongation of protime and even production of albumin is affected. The initial and most common histologic response to a hepatotoxic stimuli, whether it be chemical or alcohol, is fatty liver. When it comes to alcohol ingestion, continuous intake of alcohol will result in fat accumulation throughout the entire hepatic lobule. Thus, abstinence or cessation result in normalization of the hepatic architecture, provided fibrosis hasn't set in yet. So the appearance of steatohepatitis and certain pathologic features such as giant mitochondria, perivenular fibrosis, macrovesicular fat may be associated with progressive liver injury. You will only see this when you do liver biopsy. The hallmark of alcoholic hepatitis is there's a presence of ballooning degeneration, spotty necrosis, PMNs infiltrate, and fibrosis in the perivenular and perisinusoidal space of Dice. Mallory bodies can also be seen, and alcoholic hepatitis is the precursor, one of the precursors in the development of cirrhosis. Again, we already mentioned that drinking cessation will potentially reverse the effect of alcohol in the liver. What if you see patients who are alcoholic and you suspect the patient to have alcoholic liver disease? Therefore, you have to do a good history and physical examination because the clinical features may be subtle. Sometimes organomegaly or hepatomegaly is the only clinical findings. So, if the patient will not tell you the truth about his or her alcohol intake, it may be difficult to differentiate alcoholic fatty liver from non-alcoholic fatty liver. So there is a questionnaire that was devised. Here is the alcohol use disorders identification test. So you have several questions and you have to have scores in each particular question. This may help us in determining whether the alcohol, the liver damage is secondary to alcohol or not. The clinical features of alcoholic hepatitis, sometimes we already mentioned it is subtle, but sometimes patients will come in due to fever, and when you do physical examination, There are spider nevi, jaundice, abdominal pain, and tenderness. If you notice bulging abdomen and you suspect the patient is having portal hypertension, ascites is to be considered. And when you find in your physical examination signs of portal hypertension like spider nevi, caput medusae, therefore you must tell your patient that he or she has a potential for variceal bleeding. And the recognition of the clinical features of alcoholic hepatitis is central to the initiation of effective and appropriate diagnostic and therapeutic strategy. We should always tell the patient to stop or to abstain from taking alcohol. That is the general rule that we must follow. The laboratory features in fatty liver, these are very, very non-specific. If you see modest elevations in the AST, ALT, and GGTP, you may suspect patient having alcohol damage. And if you do blood chemistry, you found the patients having hypertriglyceridemia, hypercholesterolemia, and on occasion, hyperbilirubinemia, you should suspect that the patient is having alcoholic liver disease. If the liver is inflamed, it is called alcoholic hepatitis. And in contrast to other causes of the fatty liver, the AST and ALT are usually elevated 2 to 7-fold. They rarely exceed 400, and the AST-ALT ratio is more than 1. In this particular case, hyperbilirubinemia is common. In this table, laboratory diagnosis of alcoholic fatty liver and alcoholic hepatitis, the AST-ALT ratio, GGTP, and the bilirubin. This will guide you in committing to the diagnosis of alcoholic liver disease. We already mentioned that sometimes bilirubin is also the range. Albumin. Albumin is also the range. And albumin is a manifestation of synthetic function of the liver. Hypoalbuminemia and coagulopathy are common in advanced liver injury. You may also find low platelet count and also other manifestation of the range synthetic function like your PT or prothrombin time. To diagnose this, you have to make the patient undergo diagnostic imaging, like for example, ultrasonography. This is useful in detecting fatty infiltration of the liver and also the liver size. If by ultrasound you see portal vein flow reversal, presence of ascites, and collaterals like presence of varicosities, this indicates that the patient is having serious liver injury, and even if with cessation of intake of alcohol, reversal can be very, very difficult to achieve. So, you have to, again, you have to tell your patient to refrain from taking alcohol, even if you already have signs of an irreversible damage. So, not to push your patient to an early hepatic decompensation. That means if you have coagulopathy, you already have anemia, albumin is deranged, as well as bilirubin, and there is presence of ascites and elevation of creatinine level, then maybe at this particular point, patient's condition has already or is already irreversible. So patients with derangement in the synthetic function of the liver has a very, very high mortality rate. Within 30 days or a month, mortality rate can be more than 50%, especially when you have variceal bleeding, encephalopathy, and or hepatorenal syndrome. So the prognosis is dismal. You have to prepare the patient and the patient's relatives. You have to inform them of the poor prognosis. So we cannot overemphasize that abstinence is the cornerstone in the treatment of alcoholic liver disease. There will be improved survival with the potential to reverse the histologic injury provided that ascites, encephalopathy, hyperbilirubinemia, elevation of creatinine, derangement of synthetic function is not yet manifested in your patient. So, if you're the attending physician, you see these patients and they followed your advice, then it will be very good for the patient. But if he or she doesn't want to follow, you have to refer your patient to experienced alcohol counselors and enroll them in an alcohol treatment program. Nutritional and psychosocial states should also be addressed during the evaluation and the treatment periods. Here, alcoholic hepatitis, you have to have a good nutritional support with abstinence and discriminant function. The target should always be less than 32. There should be no GI bleeding, and the use of steroids for 32 to 40 milligrams daily for 4 weeks may improve hepatic function. So other this is the other representation of that. If you decide to use prednisone or prednisolone, 40 and 32 milligrams per day respectively, you have to give the patients steroids for 4 weeks followed by tapering, and you should exclude the presence of active gastrointestinal bleeding because the bleeding may be worsened if you use steroids, and the presence or absence of renal failure and or pancreatitis. So to reiterate, the cornerstone of the treatment is complete abstinence. You have to educate not only the patient but also the patient's relatives. And if complications has already set in, therefore, the patient's prognosis becomes dismal. With that, thank you for your kind attention.